Before he started talking, he said, I want to recognize somebody who maybe still be here. Is Mark Jerome still here? As if I had somewhere else to go and I was going to miss this opportunity. Tony Bennett says, Mark, in front of several hundred people, maybe 700, 800 people, I just want to thank you for sending your child to UVA. So he completely elevated my New York City street cred, by the way. And I'm extremely grateful, and I didn't get a chance to say thank you for what you've done to my child, guiding him as we drop off our kid. His mom and I drop off our kid, and we want him to be in a place where someone's going to guide him and help him grow on and off the court. National championship coach, we are honored to have Tony Bennett in the house.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I got it. See you there. Thanks.
This is a special moment. This is awesome. This is great.
I want to see how you do, Justin, interviewing me. This is going to be interesting.
So last night, I don't know who got the chance to attend the beautiful ceremony, but Coach told me I was responsible for the gray hair, but it doesn't look half bad, so I'll take responsibility.
No, that was amazing last night. Were any of you at the ceremony last night? You saw it. That was so special, and what Justin's referring to. They showed a video clip in my opening press conference, I guess nearly 11 years ago, and my hair was a lot darker than it is now. And I got up there and I said, I think the guy who's most responsible for the gray is Justin Anderson. Actually, Ty has a little bit to do with that too. Ty's a good, but he's stubborn. Ty is stubborn, I'm going to tell you. But no, it was that to celebrate that with you guys, family, players, and the fans. That's as good as it gets. So that was a gratifying moment. And those rings are big.
Yeah, we saw them before.
They're big. Yeah, but we got a few of the ACC championship ones.
I just want to let you know, if coaching doesn't work out for you, you may have a career in therapy. You and I have had tons of conversations, text messages over the last several years.
Hey.
The most valuable and most important one may have been after the loss of the UMBC game, which I can now say without hesitation. We spoke about a week after the game. We talked about the perfect storm. Afterwards, I felt so much better. I still owe you about $200 for that session.
No.
After that game, you go to your hotel room after the night ends. What did you do? Did you replay the game in your head and say, what could I have done differently? Did you just, you and Lowell, have a night to yourself?
Yeah, it was it's an interesting moment. I've shared some of those things before, but the thing that troubled me most, besides the loss and all that, is we got on the bus and Ronnie Weidman said, Coach, you're not going to like to hear this, but we've received some death threats. Whether they were legit gamblers, who knows, but we're going to have to take the players through the back entrance, and there'll be some police officers that'll escort them up to their rooms and walk with them. And I remember thinking at that time, even being down, like, what is this suggesting to the minds of our young players? Yeah, it was a bad loss and all that, but that's too far. And one thing, a side note of that is I noticed we got on the elevators, police officers walk our players to their rooms. I was the only guy who didn't have a police escort. So I didn't know what that meant. Like, I'm walking like, wait a second, I felt like I was walking on the plane like, okay, I see how this goes now. I'm going to get one.
For yourself
exactly, yeah. I've seen, The Godfather a few times. But so to answer your question, I walk into my room, and my father, who didn't go to the game but was at the tournament, was sitting in my room with my mom, and it was strange. I looked at him, and when I saw him, I knew right away I need to be good. Like, just for him, because, he is a coach, and he just said, are you okay, son? And I said, I am, and I was with him, and my family was there, and I knew how important it was for me to act like, yeah, it stung, but I'm okay. And it was almost like you kind of go into that mode. And that was the message I shared the next morning to our team. I told them, I said, you don't understand the power you have. If you can let your brothers and sisters, your friends and your family know, be real, yeah, I'm hurting, but I'm going to be okay. I said, that's going to have more influence than anything. So it was that moment. My dad, he left, and Laurel and I sat there, and My faith is important to me, and I remember it was kind of the same thing after the championship game, but I got in my room and I got on my knees and I said, I don't know what's going on, but I know I'm going to grow from it, and I'm thankful for everything I experienced, and I'm going to learn from it. And I tried to keep that mindset, as hard as that was.
It's so true, because Ty letting me know that he was okay put me at ease.
No, I believe that.
Yeah.
It's a unique spot you're in that you almost have more of an opportunity to impact others when you're at the bottom. When you're at the top, yeah, you have an opportunity and everybody listens, but people really watch. At least I watch people when they're going through something hard. I think that's real, and that validates it. And that's why I marvel at our young men, how they handled it, because it was a lot for a young mind. But anyways, I hope we're going to talk about some lighter stuff.
We are. We'll get to that. We'll get to that momentarily.
Maybe have a beer, enjoy the day.
You engineered, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest sports story in the history of sports.
We're biased, but I like that.
Well, that actually leads me to what I wanted to talk about next. In a sport, the NCAA as a whole, being recruited by different colleges, being able to implement your faith, what you stand on, and bringing that into the NCAA system. Talk a little bit about why that's so important to you. I mean, being able to quote scripture publicly, being able to talk about your relationship with the Lord publicly, and implementing that into your program. I know with the pillars and things, and you can expound on that if you want, but talk a little bit about, that's unique. I think that was unique. That's what led to me wanting to be around you. My first interaction with you was with my father in your office, and I remember walking out, and my dad said, "What did you think?" I said, "He's like the most genuine dude that I've ever met." So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. First, everyone's at a different place in what they believe and what they don't believe, and you have to respect that, especially being at a state institution. But our program is based on, regardless of your beliefs, on teachings that I think relate to basketball. And when someone asks you what's important to you, and you have an opportunity to share it in the right way, I always talk about with gentleness and respect. That's the best way. And again, when you go through great situations, hard situations, if something matters a lot, you can't be afraid to share it or ashamed of it, but you always do it with respect, because people do come from different places. But everyone has something that they hold dear to them that they have to go to when things happen. And there's no doubt that's been my perspective, my motivation in it. It's what everything works through. And like I said, when you're a coach, when you come and play for our staff and me, we have to treat you like you're our child. And how would I want my son to be coached and influenced? And I'd want someone to, push him hard, care for him, but impact them in the right way with just truth and good things. So I appreciate that question, and it's delicate, but it's what certainly carried me through it all. And I think we're biased. I think it's one of the greatest sports stories told. I don't know if it's the greatest.
With the greatest.
But we'll go for that. So, no, it is unique.
At what point did you see this possibly unfolding and saying, man, we got a shot. This could happen.
I'll tell you when. You always hope that, hey, we can maybe win a national championship, but you don't know. Where I thought, okay, it's on and it's real, is we played Duke in the game here that LeBron showed up to, and then how about that, the next game Michael Jordan shows up. That's pretty cool to have those two guys that you plays. And I never got to play against LeBron, but I got to play against Michael a bunch of times. I think that was my second greatest guy I've ever played against. The other one was, I think, Corey Alexander right here was in the crowd. So, no, that was amazing. But we got some great alumni, great players. But when I thought it was real, after that Duke game we lost, it was a Saturday, Monday game. We go to Carolina, and they were good, and it was in their place. And when we beat them, we set that up in the locker room. I said, okay. I said, this is how it is in the NCAA tournament. Let's assume we beat Duke. I said, you got a one-day turnaround. I said, you're going to play a big-time team in a hostile environment. And I said, this is how the NCAA tournament format's going to be set. When we went in there, and that was a great game. That was, I think, one of the best games. After that game, I told our staff, I said, I think this group, if we stay healthy, because we know if you're not healthy, I said, I think this group has a chance. That's in my mind where I said, this can happen. So.
you guys lost, won, lost. Like your last 4 games,
Yeah.
you guys were behind late. The last 3 games, you guys were. It was.
Well, we went to have this panic. If your son would have played smarter, he picks up his 4th foul. We're playing against Auburn. We're up. And so,
We'll move on to the next one.
that's right.
So you mentioned yesterday you went ties for 3 occasions. You said
3
death,
occasions.
wedding,
A funeral, a wedding, and a national championship
yep,
celebration.
and then you mentioned the 4th.
Well, I said, because you picked up on that. I said, when you go, if you remember, my dad told me, if you ever make it to a Final Four, I got us an opportunity to play at Augusta, where the Masters, that's like the greatest golf course. And I thought, man, my dad loves the golf. I said, Dad, I got an invitation. We can go play. This is a year ago, play Augusta together. And he said, I tell you what, son, if you ever get your team to a Final Four, I'll go play Augusta with you. And so after we won it, I actually said it on the podium to Jim Nance. But so we went this in April after the tournament we went. So you have to wear a tie when you go to eat in the dining room. So that was the 4th occasion.
Okay,
You're at Augusta and you're at a dining room.
How
So
was
that's
that? How was playing with your father at Augusta?
that course, if you're a golfer, you watch it on TV, you can't appreciate the greens and the hills, but I got a picture with my dad and I on the Hogan Bridge, but just to be walking with your father down those fairways, you talk about a father-son experience that I was so blessed to have, and it was just great to be with him. My dad's 75 now, 76, and I cherish those moments, so that part, the course and all that, but it was being there with him that made it great.
Well, I actually want to follow up with that because that's cool. The fact that you played for your dad, the fact that the champion, Ty Jerome, played for his father, you both, what is that like? I didn't have that experience. My father kind of just gave me to you and said, hey, coach him.
Yeah. But I can only speak from a player standpoint. I'm more with Ty on this than you. I've said it before, the good is great when it's going good. Everything's exaggerated. And the bad is terrible. And like with my dad, and I bet you were like this with Ty, I told him, you got a green light. I said, I want you to make me, I want to make this team good, and I want you to make me as good as I can because I want a chance to play in the NBA. And he pushed me further than I thought I could handle. He dangled me over that edge, and there's a lot of times I'm like, I need to transfer. This is wrong with Dad. And I would go to my mom. I'm like, Dad's nuts. I said, I can't take it. I said, this is too much. He's on me telling me, I'm not a Division III player. He would go at me, but he did some things in me that toughened me up. And I knew he loved me at the end. I didn't maybe at the time, but I say, okay, I think I can trust him. But, I used to go home. I can't believe I'm telling this. See, you guys are good. And I'd tell my roommate. I said, okay. I said, hold the pillow up. Hold the pillow up. He had just torn me in practice. And I was like, all right, hold the pillow up. I said, that's him. Bang! And I punched him. I had to get out my frustration. He told me I can't guard. He told me this. Bang! And he hold this pillow up.
Just get it all out, huh?
That's how you got to do it. So
I don't want to hear the story.
So I'm sure Ty did worse than that about you. But I'd like to hear. Go ahead, Mark.
I'm going to share something with you that made me feel much better last night. I was talking to one of the people at one of the tables during the event, and the guy told me, he said, my daughter played soccer at UVA. She was playing goalie. Somebody kicked the ball through her legs. I think this was in high school. And he didn't let her eat that night for dinner. So I felt a lot better.
There you go. It's all in love. Tough love. What is it? You got to have tough love.
We are so grateful for you giving your time today.
I usually don't do this. I
know
do
you
anything for the families and the players who play for me. You guys are the best.
One last question for you.
Yep.
Championship game, you guys win. The next week, what's on your playlist?
What's on my playlist? Ooh. I kept playing. Well, we had that. They played them at the banquet last night. Stronger Than I've Ever Been. Back Home. How cool was that? That Andy Grammer. I don't know who got that done. He gave the intro before that song, Back Home. That song, if you really listen to the words, it's unbelievable. I played a song by Torrin Wells, Hills and Valley, but I like everything. That's why Charlottesville is big time. You go to the downtown mall, all different kinds of music here, but I'm kind of an R&B. I like Boyz II Men, and I go old school to some of that stuff. Smooth and easy, Babyface. So,
I listen to people recognize that. That's a little bit older for some.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
I do.
That was way back. So, Can You Stand the Rain by New Edition? Corey, you like that, right?
Smooth. Well, I got one more fun question. Hypothetical. I'm going to repeat, hypothetical. I hope you're here until you retire and you're done for the rest of your life. Selfishly. Hypothetical question. You have to make a decision. NBA or USA basketball? Go.
NBA or USA basketball?
Yes. Hey, Coach, any dreams or aspirations?
Well, my starting line, I'm going to have you, I'm going to have Ty, I'm going to have Dre, Joe, Malcolm, and then I'll do either as long as I can have my guys. I played in the Pan Am games for USA basketball.
Coached as well, right?
Coached as an assistant for Billy Donovan and the under-19 world champs. Toby was on that team. Mike was. After watching USA this year, I might go to the NBA.